So with that being said, I'm going to let you gear up your presentation, and I'll stop talking, and you tell us what's the best part of what you have.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks for having me on. I'm honored. Always happy to share this information with anyone who's willing to listen. And my hope for you guys today is that you take one or two nuggets out of this and you're like, oh, I could really get my head around that. And I see that that would help me either earn more business, retain more business, convert more quickly, whatever it is that you think helps you the most. So, you might be asking, all right, the power of questions. Yeah, I get it. I understand questions, positive, need to ask them more. We need to be more consultative. But Monica, how did you get to the point where you teach a class? Like I teach CE, this in Ohio, a CE class. It's one of my most popular classes actually, mainly because of people spreading the word after it. Because it doesn't seem so sexy on the front of it, but it really is the secret sauce. And the reason I'm even qualified to teach it is because I was not a question asker. I was not. And I had a very humbling experience with a coach once who poked me in the eyeballs really hard on this subject. And you know, when something hits you so hard, and you have emotions around it, that's when change happens. Well, that's what happened for me. I was in a group coaching session with Hank Avink, who's also at EXP, who has changed my life. He's been my coach for a long time. And I was actually in a group who was trying to be coaches. We were trying to launch our own business, coaching business. And he kind of was indicating that we weren't ready. And he was trying to make a point, and he came to me and he asked me a question, and I immediately answered it, and I solved it right there, because that's what we do, right? We've been trained our whole lives, when you get asked a question, to answer it. Don't answer a question with a question, right? Don't ask questions. This is our upbringing. And I answered his question, and he lost it on me, like disproportionately angry with me at how I approached that, or how I showed up in that moment. And he wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. I was trying to learn to be a coach, and I just was ready to fix everybody's problems, right? Who here can identify as a serial fixer? Yes, it's not a bad thing, right? It's just a thing. So it was so embarrassing, and he was so right, that it is a literal moment in my life where things changed for me. And I began a long journey of trying to get better at asking questions. And I'm here to tell you guys, if you can wrap your head around some of these things, and you can also put this into practice, and it takes a lot of remembering and reminding yourself, this will change your life. Can you hold on one second? There's somebody talking really loud out here. Hold on. Okay, sorry. There's just a lot of happy energy in my office, which is great. Okay, so from that day forward, I began, my journey of trying to be very aware of how powerful questions are in business and in my personal life as well. So I'm going to take you down a path. I'm going to present a PowerPoint, but that's just so that I stay on track here, because I get down rabbit holes all the time. So let me ask you guys a question, or make a statement. I'll pay you $1,000 to jump out of an airplane without a parachute. In the chat, will you do it? $1,000, you jump out of an airplane without a parachute. Nope. No. Who else? A couple more. Yes, Ted, I like you. Very good. No. All right, good. Now, what if I told you that there's one question? Yes, there's Ted. There's Ted. There's a question that could have earned you $1,000 right there. And only Ted asked it. Tracy even went all in on not even for 10,000. Yes, the plane is on the ground. But you didn't ask that. You didn't ask any questions. You just answered it. You just answered it. which is what we are trained to do. It is our upbringing from a very early age, right? Very early age. Don't ask questions. Don't question authority. Just answer the question, right? So this is not your fault. This is not my fault. It's just something we need to change. It is a gotcha. You're right. It's a gotcha. I want you to be aware in every interaction you have today. How are you showing up? Are you showing up from a consultative standpoint, from a curiosity? Are you showing up as that fixer? Because we know what everybody should be doing, don't we? We know what everybody should be doing. And really, we've seen enough in real estate. We do know what the answer is. But if you want to influence people in a powerful, positive way, you've got to learn the science behind influence. Geez, oh, Pete's get it there. Okay. And there is a science to this. What literally happens in the brain from a neuroscience standpoint is questions cause open-mindedness. Questions trigger an aha and a self-awareness that is way more powerful than any sort of telling or any sort of quick answers. If you're trying to extract an answer from somebody and the answer is yes or no, that literally closes off their mind. When we ask questions, their brain shifts in a very different way. And this is where the mind is changed. And this is where influence happens. And I couldn't teach it because I don't know the depths of it. But there is a class we could teach for days and days and days on this. But I want you just to understand that the brain is receiving information differently when you lead them through a process of questions rather than telling. So when you sit down at that kitchen table and you just want to tell them all about you and your company and why you absolutely know what the price of their house should be, you're not influencing them. They're not hearing you, especially if they have a different opinion. We have to learn the right way to get through to them, right? The questions you ask are more important than anything you're going to say. The questions you ask are more important than anything you're going to say. And there's a saying, and I'd like you guys to write this down because writing this down also sits in your brain differently. You've probably heard that 100 times. It's just true. The person who talks the most, this is in any interaction, business, personal, whatever. The person who talks the most thinks it went the best. The person who asks the questions is in charge. The person who talks the most thinks it went the best. And the person who asks the question is in charge. So, show of hands. And you guys, I love energy back from you. It helps me know. So whether it's, I can't see all of you, but whether you raise your hand or a little chat, thumbs up or whatever, that helps. But do you think you want your clients to think it went the best? Or do you want to walk out of the meeting and be like, that was awesome. I was saying everything right. I friggin' crushed it, right? Do you want it to go the best? Well, actually, the secret is you need them to think it went the best. So we need to let them hear our questions. We need to let them answer it. We need to let them self-discover the answer. Take them on that journey, okay? So we're going to go through some buyer questions that I think are really powerful, and we're going to go through some seller questions that are pretty powerful, and I'm going to kind of talk about each one a little bit as to why and what it does for us. And then I've got some general questions. This is a 3-hour CE typically, so I'm giving you kind of a highlighted version. I'm giving you just the best parts, no fluff, okay? Is that all right? That's what we're doing today. All right, So let's look at when we can be asking questions and when we need to be influencing. Well, this starts at the very beginning with buyers. And I hope you guys have a buyer consultation process. If you do not have a buyer consultation process, you are doing a disservice to your buyers and a huge disservice to you and your business. It is the most critical aspect. Okay? I'm going to try to answer these as we go. Yes. Okay, good. Yes, the client's right. We also need to be asking questions while touring a home. We need to be asking questions while drafting an offer. Not just, hey, what goes in this blank, but why? Why is that important? During inspections, even after the sale. At every step of the way, we can be asking really good questions that not only help us navigate the process easier, do a better job, but also create raving fans. That's what happens here, okay? So let's get into the top 5 buyer questions that I really like. There are obviously tons. I'm just trying to give you an overview of some that'll probably then trigger some other ones for you. All right, so you're going through and they're telling you how many beds and baths and, we need a fenced-in yard and yada, yada, right? Most agents are just taking the order. They're writing down 4 beds, 3.5 baths, 2-car garage, putting it in the MLS and letting the MLS and the market do the rest, okay? I want you to go 2 or 3 times deep on everything they say. And this is not annoying, this is consultative. So, hey, I need 4 bedrooms. All right, I love that. Would you mind telling me why that's important to you? Well, really, we need 3 bedrooms, but we need an office. Oh, wait, so if it had 3 bedrooms and an office, that would be good? Yeah, okay. So instead of just taking that order and putting 4 down, now you've put 3 down, which probably, in some cases, doubles the number of options that they're gonna have, right? But if you hadn't asked that question and dug in, let me give you an example of a client who said to me once, Monica, we need a formal dining room. So I said, well, that's cool. Tell me more about that. Well, every Sunday, my entire family gets together and we eat dinner and we need to be around the same table. We've done it forever. We love it. It's super important to our family. I said, that is so cool. And I asked him a couple questions about that just from a human interest standpoint. And then I said, so let me clarify. If the house had an open space where you could extend the table or add a table, is that fine? Or is there something about the formality of the dining room that you want? Oh no, we don't care about what room. We just need the space for a table that sits 18. Awesome. If I didn't ask that question, I'm taking formal dining room, I'm putting it in the MLS, I'm checking that box. I'm hoping that all agents checked the right box. I'm hoping the agents know what a formal dining room is or what it's not. And I'm eliminating a lot of options that might have worked really well for this couple. And in fact, we found a house that did not have a formal dining room that we would have never seen if I was an order taker. Make sense? I want you guys to understand the why behind the simplest things like beds, maybe not baths, I don't know, maybe baths, fenced in yard, all those things, okay? Next question. This is probably my favorite question. I want you to just put this in your toolbox and constantly use it, especially with buyers. How do you make decisions? I was sitting in a house once and the parents were friends of mine from high school. And the son was buying his first house. And we were sitting inside this house that he really wanted. It was the house and he did end up buying it. But we were sitting around the island. And I'm asking him some questions about what he liked about the house and what was important. And is there anything missing that he really was hoping for or whatever. And then I said to him, tell me how you make decisions. And everybody kind of looked at me like that was a weird question. And I said, are you like a gut guy? Like I sense that this just feels right to you? Or are you an analyzer? Do you need data? And I'll tell you what, whenever you have 2 people involved in buying a house, husband, wife, wife, whatever, 2 partners, anything, chances are those 2 Those two make decisions differently. You guys experience that? There's one analytic, and then there's one like, I just know this is my house. I just can feel it, right? When you learn how they make decisions, do you think you are of better service to them? In a market where we don't have a lot of inventory, and you're going to come up against competition in the first day or two, do you think it's beneficial for you to know that your seller needs data to make decisions? Do you think you can allow him or her to make a quicker decision if you bring the information they need? Because we all know in a lot of markets, if you sleep on it, you won't sleep in it, right? It's happening too quickly. It's still here in Cincinnati anyway. I'm not sure about where it is in your market. Certainly certain segments, I would guess, are. Okay? How do you make decisions is a really powerful question. You can be a better agent when you know what's going on in their brain. Okay? And so if they say, yeah, I'm a processor, I'm going to need data, or the one partner laughs, the other one, oh yeah, we're going to have to think on it for days. We're going to have a discussion about what information can I give you that will help you be able to make a decision quicker, because as you know what you're looking for, 20 other people are looking for, and we're going to battle for it. And I'm going to help you get it, but we're going to have to act quickly. What can I do for you that will enable you to make a quick decision? And then whatever that is, make that happen. Oh, well, I just really need to know that I'm not overpaying. Okay, so if I feel like you are, but you want the house anyway, do you want me to say that? Like, now you are a true consultant. You see that? It's different than just kind of being an order taker and going along with whatever, the process is, the actual process. It just elevates the whole experience. Let's look at this one. Let's say they are going through and they're like, we need 4 beds, 3.5 baths, we need a fenced-in yard, we need 2-car garage, and we really need a finished basement. Okay, awesome, got it all. Tell me about this, tell me a little bit, what are you going to do with the basement, da 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 da. All right, great. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, if I was to find you the perfect house that just didn't have X, didn't have the 2-car garage, didn't have the fenced-in yard, would you still buy it? I mean, it's perfect in all other ways, but it doesn't have a fenced-in yard. Would you still want it? Yeah, I think we could do that. We just put a fence in. Okay, great. Now I'm not putting that criteria in the MLS. What about a 2-car garage? Is that an absolute deal breaker? What if it had 1 car, it had a detached carport or something like that? Well, yeah, we could do that, especially if it had space to build a garage. We could probably really do that. Okay, great. Now I'm not doing that. Now I'm opening up the possibility of what we can find for them. I'm making my life easier. I'm making their life better. Okay? You guys feel free to stop me along the way if you have any questions. This is meant to be very casual in that way. Okay? Yeah, if you sleep on it, you won't sleep in it. This is the truth. Okay. Now, I'm a huge 1 to 10 gal. I love it. I use it all the time, almost to exhaustion. But it's just, I think it helps bring clarity to situations. So this is my favorite, one of my favorite 1 to 10s for buyers. On a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to buy a home in the next 60 days? 10 being, I have to buy a home. There is no other option. I must be in a home. Okay, how helpful do you think that is?
Hey, I'm glad. I'm like, should I be a little late? I'm like, shit, I can do.
That's awesome. How important is it if I hear somebody, if one of the buyers says I'm a 4 and the other buyer says I'm a 9? Do I need to know that? Well, yeah. Yeah, you need to know that. Or if they're both at 5s, I have a standard in my business that I only work with 9 and 10 buyers because it's just too damn hard right now. It's too damn hard. I'll set them up on a portal and have at it. They can drive by. But until they see a house that brings them to a 9 or 10, I'm not spending time out. I'm just not. Will I lose a buyer? Possibly. This is a whole nother class. This is a class about standards in your business. Standards solve problems. If you're having a problem, you're showing too many houses, you got buyers you can't get closed, like you need a standard of some sort. Again, that's another class I'll come back for if you want me to. But I like to know where that motivation is, especially if there's a discrepancy between the two. Hey guys, I sense that there's, a little difference of opinion here. This is not something I can help you with, obviously, but I would like you guys to go home and get on the same page. Or I will say, tell me about the fact that you're a 4. What are you hesitant about? How important is it that she's a 9 and you're a 4? Like, are we going to get that 4 up to a 9? Or are we going to dig our feet in and be a 4 the whole time? Like, you guys have to, this is our job. We got to really understand this. This is how you become a highly referred, highly effective agent, is by doing things that other agents won't. Most agents just take answers and run. I want you to understand more, okay? I love this one. I do this one really for both. You'll see it show up again in sellers. But what's your biggest concern about this process? Or what's your biggest fear? Or what's your biggest hesitation? Or whatever word is right for you in that moment. Let's go ahead and call that out, put that on the table. Well, I'm super nervous about how to buy and sell at the same time. Then let's get plan A, B, and C for that so that we have all the things laid out. No matter what happens, we've got our plan. How would that feel? Well, I'm nervous about affording it. All right, let's make sure we nail that down and that we have our really strict standards on how much you're going to pay and what that monthly is, and we won't go a dime over it. Is that comfortable? I'm not here to spend your money. I want you to be comfortable. Well, I'm really nervous about, I don't know, whatever. Okay, just like that's where you then can be hypersensitive to that and super serve them in that space, can over deliver in that space. And man, talk about raving fans. When you do that, it's all over. Let's move on to the power of questions with sellers. All right, this can happen at all stages with sellers. Are you doing a pre-listing questionnaire for your initial call? In fact, I always have one with me. I have them in my car. I have them in my little notebook. I have them everywhere. When somebody calls and wants to list, I either ask these questions at that point, or I say, that is great. Can I call you tonight at 6 o'clock? I need 10 minutes of your time to go through some questions that'll help me do a better job for you when I see you next week on Tuesday to see your house. If you're not, I believe if you're not doing those pre-call questions, that you are, I'm going to be really dramatic here for a minute because I like to exaggerate, but I believe that's malpractice. If you don't ask the right questions, understand the whole situation, including what they owe on the property, do they have any seconds, are they late on a payment, all of those things, I believe that it's malpractice of sorts. Your job is to understand at the fullest what their motivation is, why they're moving, what's most important, what they think is good about their house, what they think their house is missing. That's what these questions are. And I'm sure Michael has, you guys have these. It's a Mike Ferry, actually, the Mike Ferry questionnaire. It's been traveling around for years and years and years, and it's just perfect. So I'm happy to share that with you guys if you guys don't already have that. The listing appointment. First of all, I don't call it a listing appointment with my clients. That's speak with you and I, the listing appointment. This should be a pricing strategy meeting. Write that down. Pricing strategy meeting. And it's the sellers and you deciding together what makes sense for what's most important to them, what their priorities are. Okay, lots of question there. The listing appointment is not for you to come talk the entire time at the table about everything you know and how great you are, which you are. That's not how you convey to them that you're great. You want them to trust you. You want them to know that you're leading this process. You want them to know you have a process. You want them to know you're a consultant. You want them to think it went really well. And all you're doing the exact opposite of establishing that by talking the whole time. Questions, okay? course, any follow-up questions as you go through the process. And then, of course, after the sale, there's opportunity for that as well. So let's get into the top 5 seller questions that I just love. Here it is again. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being HGTV perfect, everybody knows what that means, how would you rate your home? They're going to say usually a 6, 7, or 8. It's just almost always, no matter what the condition of the home is. Even if you walk in and it's like a 10, that person won't say it's a 10. They're going to be humble. So that is not the key question. The key question is what comes now. What would take it? What would it take to make it a 10? What would it take to make it a 10? There's so much gold in that question. So they say, oh, I think it's like a 6 or a 7. And you're like, awesome. What would it take to make it a 10? And guess what they're going to do? They're going to tell you everything they think is wrong with the house. So now when you go see it, and they already told you the carpet upstairs is awful, they already told you that 3 bedrooms need painted, they told you that the back deck, needs stained, whatever, right? They told you they wish that the neighbor didn't have cars up on cinder blocks. Okay, now you come and you don't have to point this stuff out. You can say, you're right, I see what you're saying about the carpet. We should probably offset for that, or would you ever consider replacing it? I've got a great carpet guy, let's get a quote. You're right, the deck is definitely whatever, and since people love outdoor space, let's go ahead and spend a little money there. Are you open to that, right? You're right this, you're right that. Use their words. And I'm sure there'll be things they didn't say, but it really helps to get that idea. That question is on this questionnaire, and it is my favorite seller question because it really helps you see where their brain is and how realistic they are for one. Okay? Next question. What are the 2 most important things that will make this a great experience? I usually launch with that question when I sit down to the kitchen table. Hey guys, first of all, thank you so much for this opportunity. I actually know how important this is. It's critical, and the fact that you would allow me to interview for the job is really important to me. I want to start by just understanding what are the 2 most important things that will make this whole thing a great experience for you. Well, we want to get our price. If you can get us X number of dollars, that'd be great, even if they exaggerate. And we really want to have a couple weeks in the house after we sell to get out. That would just make things a lot easier for us. All right, that's awesome. Let's go back to the first one, price. Why is this so important to you? Why is it so important that we maximize this investment? I mean, of course you know the answer. Like, everybody wants to maximize. But you're just demonstrating this consultative approach, and you're setting yourself up as the leader. You're setting yourself up as a leader. Guys, if you don't set yourself up as a leader from minute 1, whether you're doing a buyer consultation, which is why we do buyer consultation, to set yourself up as the leader of the process, or the selling process, if you don't do that in the absence of leadership, write this down, in the absence of leadership, your client will lead. Have you ever had a client want to lead you? Have you ever? It's not fun, is it? No, it is not fun. It's brutal. It's brutal. And it doesn't serve them. They shouldn't be leading. You should. But you don't have a process that demonstrates that to them yet. Okay? So starting with that question will really be great. Next question I love is, do you guys have, especially if they raise their kids in this house, if this is kind of one of those sales, do you have a favorite memory or 2 from your time in this home? Why do you think that's important? Why do you think that's a great question? That's a great question because if you like to do thoughtful gifting, I don't do gifting at closing. I do thoughtful gifting like 30, 60 days after close. I don't want it to be a gift in exchange for me selling their house. They paid me to sell their house. That was my job. I did it. You hired me. I'm done. There's no gift for that. The gift comes to continue the relationship, to let them know that our relationship was not just about the fact that I was helping you sell or buy your home. The gift comes because I'm a human being and I see you as a human being and I want to continue to be in relationship with you. And this question gives you perfect ideas for gifting. One time somebody said, oh, we have mean dance parties in this house. We just love to dance. We crank up the music. I was like, what kind of music do you like? They're like, we love disco. And we laughed about that. And so, dumbest thing, it was kind of coming up on Christmas. It was like Thanksgiving. And I went and got these little Christmas ornaments that were disco balls, one for each member of the family. I mean, honestly, they were like $2.50 each. And they were just little disco balls for the Christmas tree, right? Hey, don't stop dancing at your new house or whatever. Okay, I would have never known that had I not asked this question. And now I'm more than just ticket taker. I want to be Aunt Monica to these people, not Realtor Monica, because Aunt Monica knows what's going on in the family, celebrates with them, has sadness with them, when there's a loss in the family, celebrates with them. That's what I want to be. I don't just want to be there when it's time to write a contract. I want to be your realtor forever. I want to be part of your family, okay? Again, there's a class on that altogether, so that's another one. Here's another question. What is your biggest concern about this process? Already showed you that in the buyer one. Really important to get that out. And go a couple deep on that. Is there anything else? Why? And if somebody says, oh, I just want to make sure XYZ doesn't happen. It sounds like you've had that experience before. Tell me about that. Oh, yeah, the last time we sold, da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, you're going to get so much good information on that. Now you know what's important to them and how you need to show up differently from that process, okay? What is the one thing that's great about your house that might not be obvious to a buyer? Do you guys see, let me pull up here for a minute. Do you guys see how these kinds of questions help you show up differently? Are you feeling this? Is this more than just Real Estate 101? This is sophisticated influence. This is human being stuff. This is care stuff. And I hope you guys are kind of getting the feeling of what I'm trying to throw down here in an hour, just to help you start thinking differently about how you're showing up. That's the real point of this hour.
And Monica, one of the things you really go into is the question after the question. Not only that, but you have to listen.
Yes.
To the answer on that. And listening is just as important on the question on that, and making sure it's not just, I read the question, okay, thanks. Okay.
Yeah, right.
And then moving on. So I just wanted to make that point.
Love it. You're 100% right. Thank you for that. Yeah, listening. And what I like about this, guys, is once you have a couple key questions that launch you in any particular situation, you don't have to have a script or the next question, because you are listening and then you're just going there with them, right? And that's what makes this really easy. It's not like you have to memorize some big process. This is a concept. It's conceptual of how you're showing up, okay? This question is really great because it helps you market the house better. What's one great thing about your house? It might not be obvious. Oh my gosh. Well, I just sold a house and I happen to know because I had lived on the street, but to a buyer, it wouldn't be obvious. Literally a 3-minute walk up to a trailhead that was a 5-mile trail that was super popular and took you all the way up to the grocery store and the library and all this stuff. And it wouldn't be obvious to the average buyer. And so if they said that, then I'm going to use that as marketing. Okay. Let me see if I'm missing any questions here or anything. Yes, love this. Yes. Okay, good. Perfect. Awesome. All right, a couple bonus questions. Is there any part of this move that is creating more stress or concern than others? That goes along with what are you worried about? But this gets into the weeds a little bit, particularly on a move if they're balancing a buy and a sell. Is there any particular part of this that is most stressful to you? I just can't get across enough, like, your need to understand that. And sometimes we just don't want to know because we recognize the whole thing is stressful. But you understanding the human side of a move, if you guys haven't moved lately, ooh, it is important because you forget. First of all, I put my house on the market, and after every single showing, I was dying for feedback, like immediately. Not later that night, certainly not tomorrow. What'd they think? What'd they think? Oh, you just forget that stuff. You're like, yeah. No, I mean, it's everything. It is so stressful to move. We just have to remember that. This is a great question to ask at either table, the buy or the sell. How does somebody win with you? What does that look like? And if they say, what do you mean? Well, first of all, I love that they asked a clarifying question. I mean, specifically, how do I win with you through this process? What's important to you? We're going to be in a partnership. I've already shared with you that, you having the house ready, saying yes to every showing, having the house look the best, that's your part in this. Open communication with me. If you have any questions, how do I win with you? And how does somebody lose with you? Oh, well, Oh, it sounds like there's an experience there. Do you want to share? Sounds like you had an experience with that. It sounds like that's something that happened in the past. Do you want to share? Right? Just these, you guys get to know each other just on a different level, and then you're better partners through the process. This comes from a guy, and I wish I could give him credit. I cannot remember his name. He does a training on this. It is the most brilliant thing I think I've ever seen in my life. Full transparency. I have only tried this once or twice. I would like to have this be part of my life, but he sits at the table and says, what makes this a 10 out of 10 experience for you? And they say, communication, you get us our number, blah, blah, whatever it is. What makes this a 10 out of 10? All right, cool. Is it okay with you if I check in throughout this process and make sure I'm hitting that number? I'm going to check in randomly as we go and make sure I'm a 10 out of 10 on all the things that are important to you. Yeah, that's great. Great, Monica. Okay, if I'm able to hit that number along the way, would you be excited about referring me to your friends and family? Absolutely. I think it's the most brilliant, future pacing, pave the way for your expectation without coming and saying, be sure to send your friends to me. This is permission to talk about this. And then at the end, how did I do? I know we hit a little snag with that thing. Hopefully I corrected. How did I do? 10 out of 10? Awesome. Are you still excited about referring your friends and family to me? You guys like that? I flippin' love that thing. There's a whole video online about it. If I can find it, I'll send it to you guys. But I love that one. Okay. Here is the giant warning. And this is more about objections. And I want to make your life really easy about objections. There are some scripts you need to know because you get the same 3 or 4 objections. There just aren't that many. But I never want you from this day forward, raise your right hand, and promise me that you will never again handle an objection without first asking at least one question. At least one, preferably 3. Really, because I promise you, the objection they threw out at you is not really what they're concerned about. It just isn't. Okay? Well, Monica, 3% seems a little high. I've met with somebody that's willing to do 2%. I love that. Thank you so much. Can I ask you a question about that? Why is that important to you? Well, what do you mean? I just had this. The woman said, I think $36,000, it was like a $1.2 million house. I think $36,000 is ridiculous for a couple of weeks of work. So, oh man, so many things to talk about there, right? But instead of answering her and telling her all the reasons that that's ridiculous, I said, I love that. Thank you for being honest with me about that. Can you tell me, is it about the $36,000, even though that's actually what she said? Is it about the money I'm making, or is it about the money you're keeping? What is most important? And she kind of hesitated, and I said, let me say it another way. If I get you the 1.2, which we both knew was a stretch, do you really care what I make? Well, not really. I didn't even have to handle the damn objection. I just had to ask the question, right? And in this particular case, she needed her house sold by June 14th because her husband had to sign something on June 15th. This is just right now, and she wasn't ready to be on the market. It was going to be after Labor Day or Memorial Day. It would be 1.5 weeks for me to sell a $1.2 million house. And I said, what would you rather do? And she said, well, something a lot more reasonable, maybe a flat rate. And I said, okay. When I spend a couple $1,000s, both in time and actual costs to get the house marketed, and I don't get the normal amount of time to let that happen, which in this market is 60 days in this particular price point. I have all the risk. And she said, I'm willing to pay you a flat fee no matter what. I'll just pay you. I said, why would you pay me without getting the result? I'm telling you, I'll do this, and you don't have to pay me at all. Why would you offer to pay me a flat rate, even if it doesn't succeed? Wouldn't you rather me get you 1.2 and pay me what I deserve? So you just have to be willing to get into it with questions and help them see things differently. And I said, also, do you think what I showed you here today has come from a week and a half of work? Or has what I've shown you here today come from 22 years experience? You realize that's what you're paying for, right? With these questions. She's like, well, I never really saw it that way. Right, exactly. Okay, so now you guys are promising me you'll never handle an objection without you ever have to handle the commission question. Very rarely, because I bring so much value to that listing presentation, to the pricing strategy meeting. Very rarely do they ever bring that up. When I do, I answer it I go in deep on questions, because I can just make them see how ridiculous it is. They do not care what you make, guys. They don't. They care what they make. So you got to be able to show them that. And they're never going to care about your money. Okay? Okay. Here's the hard part. Building the habit, right? I want you guys to try to catch yourself. And for as many days as you can, anytime anybody asks you a question, ask them a question back. It's not annoying. It's actually refreshing. How you do that is important. Watch the tonality of it. How am I doing on time, by the way? I'm good. Watch the tonality of it. Don't be accusatory. Come from curiosity. And usually I preface it with, I love that. Tell me more. That's actually a question, even though it's not. I love that. Tell me more. I've also heard people do this really cool. They just say, and. So, da-da-da-da-da happen. And, da-da-da-da-da, right? Leave space for people. Leave space for people. That's what questions do. Or, extenders like and or tell me more. Okay? Okay. Questions. This is how to connect with me, by the way. I have zero selling nothing. I don't sell anything. This is my Facebook, just Monica Weakley. I'd love to connect. I think you can, I don't think I have room for friends. I think you just follow me. I do a lot of little coaching moments on that page, as well as you can watch what I do posting on Facebook to earn business. I'm 100% referral with my business. So you can, mimic, mock, whatever, that. And also I run this very free service, ghostposter.com. It's Facebook posting ideas for realtors. It comes to your email box Monday through Friday. You don't have to do it, but let it be the reminder that you need to be posting every day. You need to be reminding people what you do, how you help people, inform, educate, demonstrate, all those things. And Ghost Poster is just a free service that I've done because I just do it for myself. Anyway, I'm going to do it for myself, so I just share it. We've got about 1,500 agents in there, and there's a Facebook page, a private Facebook page as well. What questions do you guys have or clarifications? Nothing? It was just perfect. Can you drop the list of questions you mentioned earlier? Oh, is that yeah, I think that Michael put the Mike Ferry, is that in there, Michael?
I put that link to Mike Ferry's main site. They do ask you just to register, but with that, you get every single script that the MFO company provides, and they are some great, as a former and present MFO agent, it's all question based, and that's exactly the training that you're talking about right there.
Yeah, this is called the listing pre-meeting questions. It is a list of questions before you should ever walk into a house. I believe you absolutely have to know the answers to the question and go through it. Do not skip any. It's really, really good. Really good. Can you repeat seller question 2? Sure. Seller question 2. Please hold. Seller question 2 was, what are the 2 most important things that will make this a great experience? This and this. What are the 2 most important things that will make this a great experience? This and this. Okay, that's awesome. Why is that important? We got to stop leaving stuff. Got to stop leaving stuff. What else?
What's your mix, Monica, about from buyers to sellers? Are you more buyer?
I'm more seller. I have my wife is in the business and she's our buyer's agent because she's new to the business and she's not tired of buyers yet. I said, can you go show this house? It's like 30 minutes away. Sure. Like, oh my gosh, it's the best. It's the best. So I'm we're probably 70-30 sellers to buyers, I would say. But I don't mind working with buyers because I only work with 9s and 10s. Like they need to buy. Like we're buying.
And I think with new buyers, that you're basically training them because a lot of them haven't had this type of professionalism or the type of questions that you're asking them. So they think it's absolutely normal with the process that you're putting them through. So that's kind of refreshing for them. Would you find that there's somebody that's elevating that level?
Oh my gosh, yes. And if they have been through it, they're like, they look at each other like, Sally didn't do this, right? Like they know this is different. And guys, that's the name of the game right now, after all. Not only does this help you be a better agent, but it actually helps set you apart. You're going to show up so differently than the average agent who is literally just taking an order by bedrooms, price point, area. Even areas, guys, you gotta dig into that a little bit. Tell me, is this a school-driven decision? You said, such and such an area. Is this a school-driven decision? Is this, you need to be close to something? Tell me why that's important. When you can understand that, you might have an area that they're not even realizing. We've got these little pockets of strange areas in Cincinnati that most people don't even know that it's called something. And I can multiply the number of houses that they're seeing if I ask the right questions. When a buyer admits to being a 5 to 7, what can you dig into and try to elevate them? My job is not to elevate them. I love this question. Thank you. And I should ask you a question before I answer it, but I'm going to just answer it, okay? My job is not to take them to a 9 or 10, but to understand what would move them to a 9 or 10. Okay, awesome. You guys are aligned on this. That's good. Tell me about why that's not a 9 or a 10. I classify a 9 or a 10 as somebody that really has to move or desperately wants to move. Tell me what has to happen between now and the time you get to a 9. Well, we're just starting to talk about it. We're not sure about his job. We're not sure about this. Well, if I got a raise, we would definitely elevate that. Okay, is this a financial situation? So then you can go into that. Oh my gosh, that's super helpful. Thank you. So what I'm hearing you is you'd really be motivated if you felt confident about the finances or what you could afford, right? Do you see that? I'm not pushing them to a 9 or 10. I just want to be ready when they're 9 to 10. Now, when they're a 5, 7, I'm going to put them in the portal. I'm going to put them on some sort of touch, campaign. I'm going to stay in touch, but I'm going to explain why it's really hard right now, especially if they want something that everybody else wants, why it's really hard to compete in this market when you're not 100% convinced you want to do it. And I will say that, is that fair? Does that sound fair to you? Does that make sense to you? Yeah, I don't want you being a 5 or 7 going and competing with 9s and 10s because you're going to overpay. And I want to protect your money. Now, if you see a house and all of a sudden makes you a 9 or 10 and we got to go get it, like, call me, let's go, we're going. I'm just really honest about where they are. Yeah, great. We only work with the most motivated. It'll make your life so much easier when you put a standard around that. Now, could I lose them? Could they interpret that and say, hey, she doesn't really want to show us any houses? Well, of course that can happen. That's okay. When you have standards, you're going to lose business. But what you do is you attract the right business in. When I leave room for 9s and 10s, they will come. But if I'm cluttered up with 5s and 7s, it's not happening.
Oh my goodness, you're preaching now, sister.
There you go. There you
I
go.
love this.
Good. Thank you.
Love that. You got to be willing to let them go sometimes.
That's
Yeah, because we hold on, and that's when our desperation shows up. And so when they can smell desperation, they can smell commission breath, as we call it. So
that's right.
big kudos to you. It's been amazing for me. I'm just blown away, and I appreciate you teaching us how to go deeper. Finding out that why is just pretty much taking it from transactional to relational. Now I got that passion. Now I got better understanding. Now I'm building a relationship with them. I kind of know them a little bit more.
Oh, Tracy, you got it. You're teaching this class next week. Let's go.
No, you
That
got
is
it.
so good.
Yes,
Oh,
it's so good.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan, the realtor.
One
I
other
like
thing, Monica, is not only when you're doing that pre-qualifying, you're normally only talking to one person on that end. So let's say you're talking to the wife on the phone, but then you sit down and you're talking to the wife and the husband. She's a 10. It's important to ask those same questions to the husband. The wife told me on the phone that you wanted to get to Lexington because the mother-in-law, because of the bigger house, because of this. What does this move do for you? He's like, well, she left out that I'm a golfer, that I want to get to my buddies that I went to college with. And
Yes.
maybe he's a 7 or a 6 and not as motivated as the wife is. How do you handle that?
Oh, well, that's great. I love that question. So to make sure I understood you, you're saying when there's a discrepancy between the husband and wife at the kitchen table and you're sitting right there in the middle of it, yes?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I would, again, my job is not to move him to a 10 or to pull her back. My job is to call out the thing that's going to make my job hard, and it's going to make their process hard. My job is to throw it out on the table. Okay, before we go any further, and they're laughing by now, right? Like they know. Clearly you're at a 10, clearly you're at a 7. I got to make sure that we're aligned or at least a little closer than a 10 and a 7, because as you can imagine, this is going to be a process that's going to require us all to have, the oars in the water rowing together. And if anybody sticks their oar down and tries to not let us go forward, it's going to be pretty tough. So, Mr. Seller, what would it take for you to be as excited about this move as she is? And or are you allowing her excitement to be the real driver here? Like, are you raising your hands and saying, I give, let's go? Or is this going to be tough? You just got to call it out.
Those are great questions.
Yeah, you just got to call it out. Again, no selling, guys. We're not selling anything. You're consulting. I hate that we are called salespeople, that we're like selling houses. No, we're not. We are not, literally not selling a house. You got to buy this today, right? No, we are helping somebody through a very difficult and important process when they want to buy or sell. That's it. What we're selling, what we need to get better at, is selling our services. That when they're ready to buy and sell, we are the right person. The only thing I'm selling is my process, my experience, my level of care, my level of commitment. Right? Back to that seller at the kitchen table that told me the other gal was doing 2%. I asked her, is this a test? This is a great one. Is this a test? And they're gonna look at you like you have 8 heads. What do you mean? Well, I just figured you might be testing me. Because if I'm gonna give away my money that quick, what will I do with your money? I just wondered if you were testing me, because I'm never gonna give away your money. So think about that person that just gave away their money. Do you think they're going to fight as hard for you as I am? No.
I like that. Because if I don't fight for your commission, if I don't fight for mine, I'm not going to fight for yours.
Yeah, I think you were testing me to see how hard I fight. Listen, I've got you. Like, I got you. I'm getting you your one too. Watch me. Watch me. If it's possible, if there's a buyer out there that will pay that, we're getting it. Don't worry. Okay, what else? Good. Okay.
Any other questions before we wrap it up, guys?
Yeah.
It's perfect timing for myself and my team, because we were doing buyer intake forms and seller intake forms, trying to figure out our questions. So God really lined this up for us today. So I'm grateful. Thank you.
I love that. Thank you. That's great. Yeah, I hope, again, it's not an overnight change, guys. Oh my gosh, that embarrassing moment that started this for me. And if you guys joined a little late, you missed that I was poked in the eyes on this. I was not a great question asker for many years in my business, many. And I was trying to be a coach, real estate coach, which I ended up doing for many years, coach train agents all around the country. And I still can go to answering a question and my family calls me out on it and I freaking hate it. They're like, you didn't ask me a question. You're giving a lot of prescription without any diagnosis. That's what it is, guys. You're a doctor. You're a doctor of houses, and you need to diagnose before you prescribe. Because half the time you're prescribing the wrong thing, or you're just prescribing not exactly what they are ailing from. Okay. You are welcome, Ted.
Well, thank you so much as we wrap it up here. That Monica, that was a 10 out of 10.
Awesome.
We sit here and thank everyone for joining. And if you have any questions, you did post up your information earlier. This will be recorded and on the Freedom Team site and location. And if you want to find Monica, she's in the Cincinnati area, and hopefully people can send you some referrals.
Anytime. I will ask all the right questions.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for showing up. Have a great week, and we will see you next Tuesday.
See you guys.
Thanks so much for this class. It was very, very informative.
Thank you, Ryan.